Picture this. You're driving through a small town, and something feels off. The buildings look straight out of a postcard from 1955. The diner has a neon sign and vinyl booths. The movie theater marquee is the old-fashioned kind. The cars parked on Main Street are either vintage or just old. You check your phone to make sure it's still 2025. It is. But this town didn't get the memo. Welcome to America's time capsule towns. Places where the 1950s never really ended. Whether by choice, nostalgia, or sheer stubbornness. America loves to romanticize the 1950s. Diners, drive-ins, sock hops, simpler times. Except the 1950s weren't actually that simple, but that's a different video. Today, we're counting down 10 U.S. towns that look like you stepped through a time portal back to 1955. Some of these towns preserve their history intentionally. Some just never changed because nobody bothered. And some are so stuck in the past, you start to wonder if they even know what decade it is. Some are charming. Some are eerie. And some make you realize that frozen in time isn't always a compliment. Let's start with a town that's so aggressively 1950s, it's basically a theme park that people actually live in. Number 10. Leavenworth, Washington. Okay, Leavenworth isn't technically stuck in the 1950s. It's stuck in Bavaria, like Germany, in the Alps. But hear me out. In the 1960s, Leavenworth was dying. The railroad moved. Businesses closed. The town was on life support. So the residents did something wild. They decided to reinvent the entire town as a Bavarian alpine village. Every building got a makeover. Lederhosen became part of the dress code. Oktoberfest became a year-round vibe. And it worked. Tourists started flooding in. The town survived by becoming a living cosplay event. Now imagine living there. You wake up every day in what looks like a Disney version of Germany. Your Starbucks has a gingerbread house facade. Your bank looks like it should be selling cuckoo clocks. It's charming for about a week. Then you realize you can't escape the theme. You want a normal-looking building? Too bad. The entire town is contractually committed to the aesthetic. You either commit to the bit or move. Oh, and the tourists. Thousands of them, every weekend, taking photos of your house, blocking your driveway, asking where the bathrooms are. You didn't move to a town, you moved to a set. And you're part of the attraction whether you like it or not. Leavenworth isn't frozen in the 1950s, but it is frozen in a fantasy that someone decided was more profitable than reality. And if living in a theme park sounds exhausting, wait until you hear about the town that literally banned modern architecture. Number 9. Seaside, Florida. Seaside, Florida is the poster child for new urbanism, a design movement that tries to recreate small-town life from the mid-20th century. It was built in the 1980s. But it looks like it was built in 1955. White picket fences, pastel-colored houses, wide porches, narrow streets, designed for walking, not driving. No chain stores, no modern design, just forced nostalgia in every direction. You might recognize it. Seaside was the main filming location for The Truman Show. You know, the movie about a guy who lives in a fake town and doesn't realize his whole life is a lie? Yeah, that's not a coincidence. Now imagine buying a house in Seaside. You're excited. It's beautiful. It's safe. It's Instagram perfect. Then you read the rules. You can't paint your house any color you want. The town has a pre-approved palette. Pastels only. No bold colors. No creativity. Your fence height is regulated. Your porch design is regulated. Even your mailbox has to match the aesthetic. You wanted a home. You got a set of design restrictions that would make an HOA blush. Oh, and the cost? Houses here start at over $1 million. You're paying 7 figures to live in a manufactured version of the past. Seaside isn't a town. It's a controlled experiment in nostalgia. And you're the subject. But at least Seaside is intentional. The next town just never bothered to update. Number 8. Greenfield Village, Michigan. Dearborn. Okay, Greenfield Village isn't technically a town where people live. It's an outdoor history museum created by Henry Ford in 1929. But it's so committed to recreating the past that it deserves a spot on this list. Ford was obsessed with preserving authentic Americana. So he collected historic buildings from around the country and reassembled them in Dearborn, Michigan. Thomas Edison's actual laboratory, the Wright brothers' bicycle shop, the courthouse where Abraham Lincoln practiced law, all moved brick by brick and rebuilt. It's a 240-acre outdoor museum where history lives and breathes. And everyone working there is in full period costume. They stay in character. Blacksmiths forge metal by hand. Bakers make bread in wood-fired ovens. No one acknowledges that cars exist. For visitors, it's incredible. You genuinely feel like you've stepped back in time. Now imagine if people actually lived there full-time. You wake up in a house with no electricity. You cook on a wood stove. You light your rooms with oil lamps. No phone, no Wi-Fi, no modern conveniences of any kind. Your job is to pretend every single day. You're not living history. You're performing it for tourists who get to leave at 5 p.m. Greenfield Village is what happens when nostalgia becomes a museum. And museums are great to visit, but you wouldn't want to live in one. Although, knowing how expensive rent is in Michigan these days, someone's probably considering it. But if a museum town sounds fake, the next one is real, and it's been frozen in place since Eisenhower was president. Number 7. Beaufort, South Carolina. Beaufort, South Carolina is a small coastal town with about 13,000 people, and it looks exactly like it did in 1955. Actually, parts of it look like they haven't changed since the 1850s. Antebellum mansions line the waterfront. Massive oak trees draped with Spanish moss create natural canopies over the streets. The historic district is pristine, carefully preserved, meticulously maintained. The town has been used as a filming location for Forrest Gump, The Big Chill, and The Prince of Tides. Hollywood loves Beaufort because it looks exactly like what people imagine when they think classic southern town. Sounds idyllic, right? Spanish moss, waterfront views, historic charm everywhere you look. Now imagine actually living there. You move in because you love the aesthetics, the history, the slow pace of life. Then you realize there's nothing to do. Beaufort is beautiful, stunningly, breathtakingly beautiful. But it's also tiny. One main street, a handful of restaurants, a movie theater that shows one film at a time. If you want actual culture, job opportunities, or entertainment options, you're driving an hour to Charleston or Savannah, and you'll be making that drive constantly. The charm wears off fast when you realize you're living in a postcard, which is great for photos, less great for actually living. Oh, and hurricanes. Beaufort gets hit regularly. Hurricane Matthew in 2016, Hurricane Irma in 2017. Your 1950s dreamtown comes with 2020's climate anxiety. You spend hurricane season watching the forecast and wondering if this is the year your historic home becomes driftwood. Beaufort is gorgeous, but it's the kind of place that's better to visit than to stay. And if coastal southern charm feels limiting, the next town takes small and stuck to a whole new level. Number 6. Gruene, Texas. Gruene, Texas is a tiny historic district near New Braunfels. Population around 30 people. Yes, 30. It was founded in the 1870s by a German immigrant. He built a cotton gin, a general store, and a dance hall. The town grew around his businesses. Then the boll weevil destroyed the cotton crops in the 1920s. The Great Depression hit. People left. The town died. But the buildings just sat there, decaying slowly but never quite collapsing. In the 1970s, someone decided to preserve it exactly as it was, turn the entire town into a living historical site. The main attraction is Gruene Hall, the oldest continually operating dance hall in Texas. Built in 1878, Willie Nelson, George Strait, and Lyle Lovett have all played there. No stoplights, no chain stores, no modern buildings, just a cluster of 19th century structures that refuse to die. Now imagine being one of the 30 people who actually live there. Your entire town is a tourist attraction. Every weekend, thousands of people flood in for barbecue, live music, and Instagram photos. You can't go to the store without navigating crowds. You can't sit on your porch without someone asking if they can take a picture. Your town isn't yours. It belongs to everyone who visits. And when the tourists leave on Sunday, you're alone in a place so small it doesn't even have a gas station. If you need something, you drive to New Braunfels, which is only 15 minutes away, but still. Gruene is perfect for a day trip, but living there means your entire existence revolves around other people's nostalgia. And if living in a tourist attraction sounds annoying, the next town is worse because it's not just preserved, it's been reconstructed to look old on purpose. Number 5. Celebration, Florida. We've talked about Celebration before. Disney's planned utopian community that feels like the Truman Show's evil twin. But it fits here, too. Because Celebration was specifically designed to look like a 1950s small town that never actually existed. In the 1990s, Disney built an entire town from scratch. They hired world-renowned architects and studied small-town design from the early to mid-20th century. Main Street USA architecture, but real. Front porches on every house, white picket fences, a town center with a lake and a gazebo. Everything was designed to evoke mid-century Americana, except it was all manufactured, built in the 1990s to look like it had been there since 1955. It's not preservation, it's simulation. Now, imagine living there. You bought into the dream. You wanted community, safety, a place that felt like the good old days. Then you start noticing things. The HOA controls everything. You can't paint your house any color you want. There's a pre-approved palette. You can't put up the wrong kind of fence. Your Christmas decorations need approval. You didn't buy a home. You bought into a design code with a mortgage attached. And it's expensive. Houses in Celebration start at $400,000 and can easily exceed $1 million. You're paying a premium to live in Disney's idea of what America should look like. Celebration isn't a town. It's a product, carefully designed, meticulously controlled, and sold to people who wanted to escape modern chaos. But you can't escape by moving into a simulation. You're just trading one set of problems for another. At least Celebration is clean and safe and functional. The next town is frozen in time for much darker reasons. Number 4. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Wait, didn't we already talk about Centralia? Yes, the town with the underground coal fire that's been burning since 1962. But it also belongs on this list. Because Centralia hasn't just been abandoned, it's been perfectly frozen in decay. When people left in the 1980s and 90s, they didn't demolish the town. They just left. Houses were boarded up, businesses were locked, and everything just stopped. The few buildings still standing look exactly like they did in the 1960s. Faded paint, rusted signs, cracked windows. Route 61, the main highway, was closed in the 1990s because the fire made it too unstable. Now it's just a broken stretch of asphalt covered in graffiti. It's become a tourist attraction by accident. The only building that's maintained is the town church. A few remaining residents still attend services there. A functioning church in a dead town on top of an active coal fire. It's like walking through a town that died in 1962 and no one bothered to bury it. Now imagine being one of the last residents. There are still about 7 people who refuse to leave. They won legal battles with the government to stay until they die. You wake up every day in a ghost town. Your neighbors are sinkholes and smoke vents. Your streets are empty, except for the occasional tourist taking photos. You're not living in the past. You're living in the corpse of it. Centralia is frozen in time because time gave up on it. The people who stayed are watching it die, and they've chosen to die with it. It's not charming, it's tragic. And if a burning ghost town feels bleak, the next one is frozen for a completely different reason. Number 3. Amish Country, Pennsylvania. Lancaster County. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, is home to one of the largest Amish populations in America. Over 40,000 Amish people live here. And when you drive through, it genuinely feels like you've traveled back in time. Not to the 1950s, further to the 1850s. Horse-drawn buggies share the roads with cars. Farms stretch for miles with no power lines. Clothes hang on lines to dry because dryers are forbidden. The Amish aren't trying to preserve nostalgia for aesthetic reasons. They're living according to religious principles that prioritize simplicity, community, and separation from the modern world. Technology isn't forbidden because it's evil. It's avoided because it threatens community. Phones pull people apart. Cars let people leave, so they don't use them. To an outsider, it looks like time travel, but to the Amish, it's just life. Now imagine being born Amish. You don't choose this life. You're born into it. You grow up without TV, internet, or smartphones. You're educated in a one-room schoolhouse until 8th grade. That's it. No high school, no college. Then you work. On the farm or learning a trade. Marriage is expected. Large families are the norm. And if you don't like it, leaving the community means losing everything. Your family disowns you. You're shunned. It's called Meidung, total social exclusion. The Amish do offer Rumspringa, a period in your late teens where you can experience the outside world. But most come back. About 90% choose to stay. Not because they carefully weighed their options, but because leaving means losing everyone you've ever known. Lancaster County is beautiful, peaceful, but it's also a reminder that simpler times often meant fewer choices. The Amish chose this life, but the individuals born into it don't always get that choice. And if religious isolation feels heavy, the next town is stuck in the past for pure economics, and it's disturbingly honest about it. Number 2. Bodie, California. Bodie, California is a genuine ghost town, and it's been perfectly preserved exactly as it was when the last residents abandoned it in the 1940s. Not restored, not rebuilt, preserved in what California calls arrested decay. Bodie was a gold mining town. At its peak in 1880, it had nearly 10,000 people. It was rough, violent. The kind of Wild West town people romanticize now, but would have been terrified to actually live in. There were 65 saloons, brothels on every corner. Gunfights were common. The local newspaper once described it as a place where even the bad men were relatively peaceful because everyone else was worse. Then the gold started running out. People left. A massive fire in 1932 destroyed much of downtown. By 1942, the last mine closed. In 1962, California turned it into a state historic park, but they didn't restore the buildings. They just stabilized them so they wouldn't collapse and let them age naturally. So now Bodie is frozen, perfectly, eerily. The buildings are still standing. Furniture is still inside. You can look through windows and see tables set with dishes. Stores with goods still on the shelves. It's like everyone just walked away mid-sentence and never came back. Now, imagine if people still lived there. If you had to wake up every day in a town that looks like everyone disappeared overnight. Bodie isn't stuck in the 1950s. It's stuck in the 1880s to 1940s. But it's on this list because it's the ultimate example of a town frozen in time. And unlike the others, Bodie doesn't pretend. It's not a tourist trap. It's not manufactured nostalgia. It's just dead. Honestly, completely dead. And somehow, that's more honest than most of the other towns on this list. But if a literal ghost town feels too extreme, the number 1 spot goes to a town that's alive, thriving, and aggressively committed to looking like it's 1890. Number 1. Mackinac Island, Michigan. Mackinac Island, Michigan, banned cars in 1898, and they never brought them back. Let that sink in. 1898. Over 125 years ago. No cars, no motorcycles, no motorized vehicles of any kind except for emergency vehicles and snowmobiles in winter. Transportation is limited to horses, bicycles, and walking. That's it. The entire island looks and feels like you've stepped into the late 1800s. And it's not an accident. It's completely intentional. The island is only 3.8 square miles. About 500 people live here year-round, but over 1 million tourists visit every year. Grand hotels with wraparound porches. The Grand Hotel, built in 1887, has the longest porch in the world, 660 feet. Horse-drawn carriages on the streets. The smell of fudge. The island is famous for fudge mixing with the smell of horses. Victorian architecture everywhere. No modern buildings. Even the Starbucks has to look like it's from 1890. For tourists, it's incredible. You take a ferry over, rent a bike, eat some fudge, and leave feeling like you experienced something unique. Now imagine living there year-round. In the summer, the island is packed. Tourists everywhere, horses everywhere. You can't walk down the street without dodging bikes and carriages. Your entire life is a tourist attraction. Then winter comes. Most businesses close. The ferries run less frequently. You're stuck on an island with a few hundred other people, surrounded by ice. No Amazon deliveries, no quick trips to Target. If you need something, you order it months in advance or you do without. Medical emergencies? The island has a small medical center, but anything serious requires a helicopter or ferry to the mainland. In winter, that's not always possible immediately. Mackinac Island is beautiful, peaceful, one of the most unique places in America. But it's also isolating, limited. and so aggressively committed to the past that progress isn't even an option. You're not living in the 1950s, you're living in the 1890s, and the island has decided that's exactly where it wants to stay. For some people, that's paradise. For everyone else, it's a beautiful prison with really good fudge. So there you have it, 10 towns where the 1950s or earlier never really ended. Some chose nostalgia, some were abandoned by progress, and some just refused to move forward. Because the past wasn't better, it was just different. And recreating it doesn't solve modern problems, it just hides them under vintage wallpaper and pastel paint. The 1950s had diners and sock hops. Nostalgia is fine in small doses. But when an entire town commits to it, you're not preserving history, you're refusing to grow. So, next time you see a town that looks like a time capsule, ask yourself, is this charming or is this just stuck? Because there's a difference between preserving the past and being trapped by it. Thanks for watching. Stay curious.